Hello everybody and welcome to this, another edition of a late night screen review. This time we're talking about VHS Halloween. Ooh. It's got human. So, VHS Halloween is on streaming services, most especially Shudder. Oh, Shudder the thought. You see with the name. So what's the story? Ooh, ghost. So, obviously, VHS Halloween, the latest iteration of the VHS franchise, is obviously a it's a contemporary, anthology series, movies. So there's no real story, and that's kind of the issue I have with the films generally. So, what did I think of the movie? I'm so old. So this is it. Here's the thing. I watched this on streaming service on Shudder, as it's out now, and how do I say this? I'm a huge fan of anthology horror films. I absolutely love them. My other secret love is found footage movies. There's just something about them that I absolutely adore. And even some of the kind of worst, just the crappiest ones you can find out there, and there's plenty, I always find something of value in them, something that I kind of secretly kind of like. There's something, I think the one was called the Bigfoot tapes, and it was literally, it was so stereotypical, just low budget, obviously, semi-decent cameras and just a load of people wandering around, and there's no real budget, so there's no real monster until right at the very end, and you just see like a tiny bit of it, and then it cuts to black, and then that's the credits. That's your kind of low budget, cheap version of found footage, because obviously that's the reason a lot of people make found footage films, because they're cheap. But I adore them. I've got so many found footage movies on DVD and Blu-ray, etc., because I just love them. I also love anthology. I love the short story, I love the wraparound, I love the kind of twist at the end of each little story. I'm a massive, obviously, Tales from the Crypt fan, etc., etc., etc. And EC Comics and all that good stuff. So, I am primed to watch VHS and Halloween, a Halloween-themed VHS film. Now, what I will say about this movie is, it's okay. It's not great, it's okay. I've literally just now finished watching it. I think it's kind of a shame, because to me the VHS films, I think the first couple of them, I don't even know how many there've been now, there's at least 4 I think. The first couple had a wraparound story that actually had some meat to its bones and actually made sense, or there was a mystery but it was unfolding, and it was like, well, what's this room that they found, and it's full of VHS tapes. And then it's either like burglars or whatever, and they put the VHS tapes on, we're watching the stories, that makes sense. But over the last couple of iterations of the VHS series, I think one of the things that I personally find frustrating is that the wraparound story, 1, doesn't seem to have any consistency with it, it's just kind of there, and 2, doesn't really either tell you much, tell a proper story, it doesn't really give you anything, and instead of being like a wraparound that brings everything together under one umbrella, it kind of just tends to be another short story just broken up, and that we just keep going back to, and for no real reason. I felt that way with the kind of Alien one, which was the last VHS film, which was all alien-centered. And I even had to look that up on the internet to make sure that it was aliens, but it actually wasn't. As it turned out, the filmmakers' kind of intentions for the last installment of VHS was, it was supposed to be sci-fi, like cheesy sci-fi concepts, even though the vast majority of the stories were alien abduction themed. So it was an alien abduction themed VHS. So they struggled to even get their own concept down, because it was just really confusing. And the wraparound story to that one was very vague and didn't really come of anything and didn't really make a whole lot of sense. At least that was my feeling, and I've not watched it in a while. I think it was when it came out originally, so that was maybe a couple of years ago now. So I wasn't massively impressed. A couple of the stories were brilliant, and some of them weren't, and that's kind of the failing, I suppose, of a compilation movie. Any kind of movie that is like an anthology, you're not going to like all the stories, it just comes with the territory. But I found that at least as many of them that I didn't enjoy in that last installment. And then this one came along, and I pretty much feel almost exactly the same. So the film it's a weird one because there's quite a few stories. I think it's nearly a 2-hour movie, and there's a wraparound story, and the wraparound story is more interesting this time. Essentially, it's some scientists in an observation room getting people to come in and drink a new kind of drink for Halloween, a soda, a fizzy pop. And they try it, and then obviously bad things happen to them. And we're sort of wondering, like, well, what is this soda? Why are they making it? How come it's killing everyone? How come people are exploding, or tentacles are flying out of the soda cans, and all manner of strange things are happening? And you go, well, I can't wait to see where this goes and how it involves the rest of the stories, and it's an umbrella theme for the rest of the anthology. No, it's much like the last iteration. It's just a thing that's happening that we keep going back to for no real good reason. Now, the filmmakers might be being more subtle, and I'm not the smartest, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Maybe I'm missing something, but I left the movie kind of going, well, what was the point of that? And again, some of the stories were cool. Some of the stories weren't that great, and I could see it coming a mile off, or for some really strange reason, they don't really have like a point to the story, a point to the little short story. Like, if you imagine it being like a written story or a comic book, you want to read the short story and actually come away with something, or there was a point or a theme or a character arc, something, or just a twist at the end. And a lot of the stories in the movie that I just watched didn't have that. People came into a situation, they were killed, murdered, or something bad happened to them, and that's kind of it. So I don't want to give any real spoilers. I think this time round, all I can really say is there seem to be a couple of new ideas, and I mean, there's about 7 stories if you include the wraparound, and I'd say 2 or 3 of them were good, and the rest were kind of like meh, or they didn't really go anywhere. I thought, paradoxically as well, the movie looked kind of cheap and low budget, but then kind of not in certain respects. Like, some of the gore was better than others, and you don't see a lot of it, obviously, because it's supposed to be real, so it's all cameras flying around, and there weren't many kind of creatures and monsters. There weren't any really large set pieces. A lot of it was like in a room or walking around a house or a corridor, and so it felt kind of low budget. Their ideas didn't seem to be many, though. There didn't seem to be many original ideas. The final one I like a lot, which was about a father and a son who have grown apart as the son's got older, and they run a theme house, a horror house together at Halloween time. And the son doesn't like it, and then the father does something to try and give them one last hurrah and one last Halloween together as they run a fun house, and all the neighbours come round to go around the house, and bad things happen. And I liked that because it felt very Halloween-y, and it felt a bit different, and there was some creatures in it, and they basically saved the best story for last. But all the other stories felt very samey in a sense, very, a thing is chasing them down a hallway or around a house or around a building in the dark, and there's this thing that's following them, and the thing is slightly different, and we don't see a lot of it, kind of thing, and there's not a lot there. And again, there's not a lot of characterization. There's not a lot of... I'd rather these films have an overarching story, or a connection, maybe. A bit like Trick or Treat, the movie Trick or Treat, where all the stories intersect and there's an actual decent wraparound. The Trick or Treat movie, which technically isn't an anthology, but there are separate stories, is a much better anthology than the last current couple of VHSs that I've seen. So what do I think of it ultimately? It's okay. If you are bored at Halloween, if you want to get into the Halloween spirit, I mean, you could watch 100 other better movies. But if you want to watch something new, then I guess go see this one. You'll enjoy some of the stories. Just don't expect a lot of the wraparound. And I think just be prepared, like most anthologies, that this one isn't particularly high quality. And essentially that you're just going to like some of the stories and you're not going to like any of the other stories, So I guess the worst thing about this film is that it's just kind of mid and a bit like meh, and it doesn't really kind of do anything new, and it doesn't do anything exciting, and it's not a coherent through line anyway, other than they're all vaguely Halloween centered. So it was an okay film. if it's on Shudder and you've got a Shudder subscription and you're obviously a horror fan, give it a watch. Give it a watch, but don't get too excited about it. So that's my review of VHS Halloween, out now on Shudder and streaming services. But obviously, let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you like anthologies? What do you think of the VHS series just as a whole? But until then, guys, stay safe, stay scared, and we'll see you soon.